Samuel Leeds here, and this week we have another success story from Scotland. His name is Simon Hayter, and Simon is making around about £12,000 a month in deal sourcing, and also £2,800 a month in income, like from rents and stuff. Absolutely killing it. So welcome to the show, Simon. How are you doing?
I'm good, Samuel, thank you.
I really appreciate you coming down all the way from Scotland, although you do drive down to the Midlands quite a lot from Scotland.
Yes, I travel to the crash courses quite often.
Yeah.
So I'm touring the Midlands of England quite well.
To be honest, a crash course would not be a crash course without you in the audience. Because, you seem to be at every single crash course that we do these days.
I mean, this year I've been focusing quite a lot because crash courses are not just about going once and then learning what you're learning and going away and trying to apply it for the rest of your life. It's also about trying to keep up to date with what's happening, what you teach as well, and how changes in the market are going to affect you as a property investor.
That's true. That's very true. And when did you first decide? I mean, how did you even get into property?
So I used to be a Subway franchisee. I was a Subway franchisee for 6 years. And I was in the process of selling my business on to someone else. And I got thinking about what I'm going to do for the future. What do I want to do after the Subway business? Because that was the only thing I had. And then I just came across property as I looked at drop shipping and I looked at Amazon FBA and all that stuff. And then one of your videos popped up when I started looking at property, and then I started watching. I think it was the video. The first one I saw was the video of you in the car at Christmas Day. I think that was the first one, and you were just giving a message about property investing and what to look for going ahead in the future and stuff. So that was kind of when I started watching the rest of your videos, and then from there, I thought, well, the crash course is free, so I'm not going to leave any worse off if I go. So that's when I booked the crash course for November of last year.
Oh, so literally what, like 5 months ago?
Yes, about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, so you came on the crash course. Did you have any experience in property or knowledge of property prior to that, apart from my YouTube videos?
I mean, a little bit of knowledge when I was younger, but because I worked for a couple of months for a property developer when I was like 16, but there's no wealth of experience. So, pretty rookie novice to the property world. And it's also because of the fact that a lot of people, is what you dispel as well at Crash Course, but a lot of people think about property as this colossal industry that you need a fortune to get into and start off with. You need like £200,000 in the bank and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people. That's why it kind of initially I didn't go down that route when I was younger. If I knew back then what I know now, then God knows where I would have been.
Yeah. And how old are you?
Just turned 31. Sadly.
31. Well, you're looking great for 31.
Oh, such a liar.
What happened at the crash course?
It was in Manchester. It was, I think it was the last small one you were doing before you started up to the bigger venues, and you were just teaching us obviously how to search for properties, how to work out, an ROI, the basic stuff that you would normally do. It doesn't matter if you're doing the crash course or you were actually just a plain person off the street just looking to buy a buy-to-let investment. So you were teaching all the basic stuff that you need to know, and it just kind of the way that you were teaching and showing us how to invest in property just made the numbers stack up a lot more, and it just made the opportunities a lot better than, as you say, you go to an estate agent blindfolded and just pick a random property off the window. So that's kind of really started, and obviously I made connections, and one of my business partners, I've done one of my rent-to-rents, I met him there as well, and subsequently at the DFE as well. So
not your partner you're not talking about?
Not my partner, no.
I was going to say, you love at the crash course.
Joint ventures. The joint ventures are good because, you might be sharing the profit at the end of the day, but you're sharing the journey, you're sharing the experience, and you're also sharing the ideas and the creativity you have.
Yeah.
So I think it's worth, that's an investment, if anything. It's not a lot.
Well, someone says it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yes.
I believe that it's both, and I think you get both at the crash course. You get the knowledge, but you also get the network and meet a lot of people. So what happened then when you left the crash course? I know you went to the deal finding extravaganza.
Yes.
What happened there?
DFE, so it was basically, I had an image in my head that DFE was something about going to the next stage in terms of learning brand new stuff. But actually, it's not. And in a way, it's actually good that it's not, because it means that the crash course, which you do for free, is adding so much value and content at the very beginning, and it's giving you the basic skills to property investment, and then the DFE is enhancing those. It's homing them. It's working with other people in the room. I can't remember how many people were there. It was like 500 people, something like that. So it was you're networking with a whole bunch of people from different walks of life, at different stages as well in the property journey. So it's basically trying to build on your skills that you developed from the crash course, but also implementing your own skills that you've learned before and bringing them together, I think.
That's great. And did you book a load of viewings? And I mean, how did you go from having no property experience, apart from 2 months working for a developer when you were 16, to suddenly, within a matter of 5 or 6 months, being financially free, making £12,000 a month on top of your property income, deal sourcing? Like, how did that happen?
So I didn't book a lot of viewings because I wanted to do two things. I wanted to look at the Scotland market in particular. So I think because there's different legal changes, regulation stuff, I think that kind of needed a bit more effort and time.
What are the differences in Scotland and England?
Well, HMO licensing, for example, you'd always need a license in Scotland compared to in England, whereas the Article 4. So although Article 4 is rolling out, in Scotland it's a blanket. So it's something that's a big, massive change when you're looking for HMO properties, for example. You're looking for below market value. So it's slightly harder in Scotland, not impossible, but slightly harder because of the fact that in Scotland you always need a home report for any property that you're looking to sell, whereas in England a survey essentially is optional if the buyer is wanting one or not, which I always recommend that you get a survey. So that's two examples of the complete difference between the Scotland market and the market in England.
I mean, it's not that different. You need a
license. It's not hugely.
Licenses for HMOs, which you do often in England anyway. Yeah. And then a survey you need to get in Scotland, which you should really be doing anyway in England.
Yes.
So it's not massively different.
It's not hugely different, but also the fact that I knew I just necessarily wasn't at the stage where I wanted to go out and buy my first buy-to-let. Yeah. I kind of wanted to go down the sourcing route, and I only decided that at the DFE. I had my original plan with the DFE was to get my first buy-to-let. Yeah. That was my plan. But then it changed completely.
Yeah, because the thing is, I remember we had the conversation at the DFE.
Yes.
And because at the DFE, it's more, you kind of walk away with a game plan, really, don't you?
Yes.
Whereas at the crash course, a crash course is just like, here are all the things you can do. Yeah. Whereas at the DFE, it's like fine-tuning that and actually
finding your path. That's what it is. Path to the start of as you call, the property journey, and that's what the DFE allows you to do, because it allows you to decide what fits best for you, what skills you have.
And you've not joined the academy yet?
No, not yet. But
which will be our continual argument.
I'll be our continual conversation for sure. Joy.
I've been trying to convince you for the last 3 months to join the academy.
I would say 2 months. Be generous. I would say two months.
But I mean, the academy, you don't need to go on the academy to be successful. I know you will join though, won't you?
Yeah, I mean, I could be, not that I'm saying I am, because I'm definitely not, but I could be as successful as you, I would still go in the academy. Yeah. Because it's, again, the academy adds on that extra layer of homing your skills, your network, your value you can add to your own property business. And that's what the academy brings, because you're on that same level as everyone else that's aiming for the same thing, and obviously the network that you could provide as well. So that's what the academy does as well.
But I think it's just timing, isn't it? And timing is really important. So but you'll.
I will join the academy. I'll promise right now I will be joining the academy.
But you know what though? I'm just really happy to see that you're being successful as a result of the free training and the DFE. It's fantastic to see. So you decided not to be a property investor only, but you wanted to be a property entrepreneur, basically.
Yeah.
Which is someone rent to rent, deal packaging, serviced accommodation. So what was your first deal?
My first deal was it was a rent to SA in Manchester.
Yeah.
And it was in Media City, X1 Media City in Salford. That was the first one, and actually I started off looking at that at the DFE actually, and then I booked a viewing. I think it was basically a couple of days after the DFE, so I travelled back home to Edinburgh, back down to Manchester pretty much a couple of days after, and then it only took about a week later to literally sign the paperwork and get the process started.
That's great. And how's that Manchester deal doing?
Doing good. It's doing good. With your first deal, it's quite weird when you're trying to set it up. You're always second guessing yourself. It's like, does that look good there, or is it the right color, or it's am I happy with that? And like, that could be better. And you think you could be spending a fortune and forever trying to get it perfected.
Yeah.
And I quickly learned early on that that's the worst thing you could do, because the best thing you do is to get it with the frame of mind of what your customer's expectation is going to be, and just meet it.
Yeah.
If you meet your customer's expectation, then you're always going to be on a winner. That's what I quickly did. So
that's great. So you got your serviced accommodation in Manchester. What happened next?
Then I started looking at the deal sourcing process. So I ordered, actually, first of all, the DFE, we got Alistair's compliance book, so the yellow book that we go through.
Like the manual, how to be a deal sourcer.
The compliance part of it, that was so important that every deal sourcer does. And then from there, I bought Alice's book, and I read that, and that kind of includes that part, but it talks about his journey and how he became a deal sourcer, and the Skeptical Scot as well. And then
did you relate being from Scotland, or not really?
No,
because he's a very typical skeptical Scotsman, as we say, because a lot of Scottish people, they're not at the crash course. It's high energy, and we, high five each other and things like that. There's a real energy, and sometimes when people come from Scotland, they're not used to necessarily that kind of energy. How did you find that coming in?
I think it'd be fair to say a lot of people from Scotland are pretty much set in their ways. Yeah. And it's as soon as you break that mold, it's when they open their minds and stuff like that. And I think that's a fair characterization, because that's exactly what I was. Very set in your ways of how the world looks, or what the possibilities and opportunities are available. And in fact, actually, if you proactively look for the opportunities instead of the opportunities magically coming to you, then you'll find them. Yeah.
And I think the reason we do that is, to open people's mind. Also, when you've got like a 12, 14-hour day, if it was a slideshow for 14 hours, people would fall asleep. So we get people doing things and ringing estate agents and finding deals, and in order to get results, but also to keep people active and engaged. So how much money are you making on that Manchester property?
The Manchester one, I'm doing just 800, 900.
And how much money did you put down into it?
It feels quite a long time ago, but it wasn't. Money-wise, I got that through a sourcer, because it was the first one I did, so there was a sourcing fee I paid for that, and then the initial investment. So in all, it came to about 10,000 that I put into that. So it was quite a hefty chunk of investment.
But if you put down £10,000, including the sourcer's fee and the furniture and everything that you needed to do, it is quite a hefty amount. But then where else can you put down £10,000 and then make £800 a month?
Correct. And then when you work out how much you're going to be bringing back over the duration of the length of the rent to rent, then you're going to get that back in your profit anyway.
And it's pretty much almost a 100% return on investment, which is not bad. Yeah. And then you've done some essays in Edinburgh.
So I've done one in Edinburgh so far.
Okay.
So the Edinburgh market is, fair to say the Edinburgh market is the biggest rent to essay service accommodation, market outside London.
Yeah. I think it's bigger than London.
Is it?
Edinburgh, I believe, is the #1 place for serviced accommodation in the whole of the UK.
Really?
I believe.
It's definitely hard to get into.
Yeah.
Especially when contacting landlords and trying to speak to them.
Speaking to all the sceptical Scots
Yes,
people.
trying to say to them the concept of rent to rent, but you don't say rent to rent because if you start going down that road, you spend about half an hour trying to explain what it is. If you go down the route of corporate lets, etc., they start considering it, and then you then get to the brass tacks numbers, and often the very first question I get is, so how much are you going to be paying rent then? And of course, then I'm saying, well, you're asking £800. I'm going to give you £800, but then often is they expect that your offer to be higher than what they're asking for,
right.
Which is very strange. It's something I've discovered. It seems to be only in Edinburgh.
Is that because they know
they know the market?
They know how lucrative
Yes.
service accommodation is. Why wouldn't they just do it themselves?
So after speaking with some landlords initially when I started, it was a hassle.
Yeah.
Managing it all, because Edinburgh's so busy. If you take August for example, Edinburgh doubles in population just in 1 month.
Yeah.
You're talking about close to 700,000 people between August to the middle of September, and through the whole course of that month. So it's extremely busy. So and the rest of the year is filled up quite well as well for most service accommodation. So the hassle they do for landlords doing short lets and long-term lets, they don't want to go a management agency.
Basically, what you're doing is you're giving the landlord what he wants,
yeah.
But then you're turning the property from a normal apartment to a serviced accommodation, which is like a hotel.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the way I put it to landlords, which seems to be actually breaking the ice more, is because I played about with the terminology and how to talk to them, is this is how this benefits you, and you list all the reasons. And one of the biggest things is time management, because you're offering them essentially to lower their cost, increase their profit margin, because you're taking over the maintenance of the property, so they don't have to spend that. You're giving them guaranteed rent for the duration of the period, so there's no void period, so they're saving money on that. And you're also then managing the property. They don't need to do it. So if you get a 5-year rent to SA contract, for example, that's 5 years they don't have to do anything.
Yeah, they don't have to pay a management company.
Exactly. Yeah. So in fact, essentially, as soon as you go to them, explain to them how this saves them money. Don't talk about how it will benefit you as you taking over the property. Yeah. Talk to them about how it's actually going to benefit them.
What's in it for me? That's everyone in business. That's always the question. What's in it for me? So how much are you making on your Edinburgh serviced accommodation?
That's just over 1,000.
Just over 1,000?
Yeah, that's to start it.
And how much did you put down to secure it in total?
Oh, about £2,500.
£2,500.
Yeah.
So your first deal, you put down 10 grand
yeah.
and you're making 800. But then as you got better, your second deal, you put down £2,500.
And in between that has been me setting up my own deal sourcing business because I know how to do it.
Making over £1,000 a month.
Yeah.
From just £2,500, most people would say that's not possible.
Well, they need to go to the crash course then.
Yeah.
Because I just say I've been to 3 so far, 4 shortly, and it is possible. Yeah. And before you go to the crash course, if somebody says that, or people watching this, yes, I can see how they would say that's not possible. You can't do that, because the fact that in a society we've always been, especially at school, we've been told that you work so hard for the rest of your life and save a small amount for your pension, and then that's meant to be the good life, but you struggle at that point. And I personally don't see why people put money in pensions, because at the end of the day, if you put it in property, you're better off than pensions. But that's my personal preference. I think realistically, if you go to a crash course, it's free, other than your travel expenses. Listen to what goes on, how it works. If it makes sense to you, give it a go. I was still skeptical, even though I went and bought the ticket on the DFE.
Yeah.
I was still skeptical up to that. You know, I was kind of thinking, I'm hoping this pays off. I'm hoping this pays off. But if it doesn't, then, you know, I need to find something else. But I gave it that shot and that investment to see how it goes. And it does, it makes sense.
Yeah,
totally
that's
makes
amazing.
sense.
So the deal sourcing then, you're making about £12,000 a month, is that right, on deal sourcing?
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's absolutely
incredible. And it's incredible. I mean, like, it's a huge amount of money. I mean, I having a Subway store for 6 years, I was turning over about 13,000 a month anyway. So I know it sounds really stupid, but it's kind of like a replacement, kind of what I was doing before.
was that your profit though?
No, that's the thing. That was turnover.
And what was your?
And my profit for this is like about 85-90%, because the vast majority of it is time and the skills that you put into sourcing a property.
What was your profit with Subway? What were you making?
Oh God, for Subway, I mean, I was probably doing about 9-10%.
9-10%.
Yeah.
So what was that
really
like?
hard.
Just over £1,000.
But a bit more than that. Yeah, just a bit over £1,000.
Wow. Which is what you're making on one SA now.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And a fraction of the effort.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still hard work, because like you're speaking to loads of people a week. I mean, deal sourcing is not just about. I know people think that you just go on Rightmove or Zoopla or whatever and find a property and do an ROI and then sell it to somebody. You know, it's the complete opposite of that. That's just stage one. Stage two is what we do is we package it together. So we make sure the numbers make sense. We do comparables. We do evidence-based, exactly pretty much what Alistair teaches as well. And then we then, at the same time as this is all going on, we're making sure that the numbers stack up and the property makes sense and the licensing, if we need to, can get achieved in that area, etc., etc. At the same time, what we're doing is that we're trying to build our investors list. You know, so we've currently gone over the 500 mark of investors on our mailing list, and we're pulling out. We've actively tried to pull out investors that are physically ready to invest now, and then we do a searching process for them so we can get them a property as soon as possible. And sometimes we find them properties, and they've had properties that have fell through for clients, and it happens. It's gutting when it does. But you know, I just apologise to the client, and then I say, you know what, we're focusing our effort on you right now, and just you to get you sorted, and to get you back on track, and then just provide the service.
It's not about whether there's a problem or not, because there's always problems. It's about how you deal with the problem. But
yes.
How's your general life? I mean, it must be quite a life-changing thing that's happened.
Yeah, last year was quite brutal. I went from having, well, to go back to it, it's not just the past 6 months, it's been probably the last year and a half. I've kind of went through quite a lot, because I went from, so I stood for election in Edinburgh. I lost, obviously, but it was a good experience. I've definitely considered doing it again. I've been campaigning for 15, 16 years in politics, so I'm used to it. And then I lost that, and then, you know, broke up with a long-term partner for almost 9 years, and then kind of went through a little transformation and lost about 4.5 stone in quite a short period of time. Sold the business as well, and then obviously from there, and obviously start looking at property. So the whole kind of last 12, 18 months has been quite eye-opener and transformational, perhaps, but I don't know.
Yeah, massive life shift.
Yeah, wait and see.
Massive life shift. So what's next then for you?
My main focus definitely is to build the property sourcing business, the brand. I want to build an investors list. I want to make it much more, make it stronger, get it out there more, to set up more joint ventures with people as well, and more rent to estates, of course, because they're always good. to have.
So basically, just more of what you've been doing.
More of what I've been doing, but the thing is, it's not just more of what I'm doing, because every single new property seems to be always bigger, or it's more complex, but I'm learning how to deal with that complexity.
Yeah.
Or it's about trying to go for a bigger fish.
Yeah.
Or as Alistair calls it, a whale. Try to get a bigger whale.
Yeah, I mean, like your first deal was small, your second deal was bigger. You've now got a handful of rent-to-rents. You're selling deals. What's your strongest reason why?
It's the financial freedom. That has to be why. Because the financial freedom allows you to then do what it is you want to do. You know, it allows you to wake up one morning and say, you know, let's go away for a week.
Yeah.
But you can walk away. You know, the beauty of properties and property investing as well, especially sourcing as well, is you can do it anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
You know that, especially with your Freedom Challenge, first one, being in the beach, getting the bookings coming in. So you could do it remotely. It's one of those very few businesses you can do that. And that's perhaps probably equally as important as everything else to do with property investing, is that flexibility and the freedom to be able to do that.
Luckily for you, you've got the experience of being able to have your Subway business, which you were running, and you can compare the two. A lot of people that go into property, they don't know what to compare it to, but I think that property investing, or being a property entrepreneur, is just one of the best businesses. You know, the time freedom it gives you, the fact that you can work anywhere, it's just a fantastic business, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I'm used to that, because the Subway business was a failing business when I bought it. It was hemorrhaging money, it was losing money, it was run down. And it took me that 4 or 5 years to build it back up.
Yeah.
After already going for about 9 years. So I mean, it was the first business I had and I bought. I was still at university when I actually bought it.
Right.
And then anything that has gone wrong in business did go wrong during that period. But actually, it's probably made me better suited now to when going into property and how to deal with difficult situations, or how to chap on somebody's door, you know, that may be a multi-millionaire and you're trying to sign them as a client, you know, or to go for no, you know, not say no for an answer.
What have been some of the hardest challenges in property over the last 6 months?
The hardest challenge. It's definitely been making sure that each property deal you put together makes sense.
Yeah.
Not just you, but it needs to make sense for your investor.
What do you mean by makes sense?
It needs to make. It's not just about the numbers. It needs to meet their expectations. Because every single investor that I've dealt with in the past, I probably will in the future, and currently going through and looking properties right now for them. They're all got different expectations of what kind of property they're looking for, or you know, they want it a certain way, and I understand that. And the hardest thing is to make sure that you meet your client's expectation. That's the hardest part. And if you do that, then it actually helps you build.
Have you dealt with any crazy investors or had any horror stories?
No, I think I've been lucky not to have any. I'll probably give me another 6 months. I'll probably pull my hair out already.
You've been in the right network. You've been in the right. You've been coming to the crash courses where everyone's happy and nice.
Yes, well, it's been good. I mean, and do you know what? I will keep coming to the crash courses, because the crash courses is the foundation. We're talking about property investing. The crash course is the foundation. The foundations need to be there, and should always be there. So why not go to the crash course?
Yeah.
Why not keep going back?
Yeah.
You know, and if anything, the contacts you build up and the network you can create just by going to the crash course. You're meeting people who are, you know, builders, contractors, lawyers, doctors, estate agents. They're the best ones. A whole bunch of other people, students. You know, there's this. I'll give you a perfect example. There's this guy who's 17. In fact, I mentioned to him some time ago. He's eager to get into property, and obviously because he's 17 years old, he's bringing property to me to work with, go through examples, for him to learn how to search property and to get into ready for when he's hits the 18 mark and try to get the property. So we've been working with them for the past about 3-4 weeks, maybe longer, I don't know. It's been quite a while. And every single time we're going through properties he's brought us, he's learning something new, we're directing him to the right way, and he's finding his feet. And as soon as deals come through with him, we sell it for him, and we split the difference.
That's great, and it's nice to be able to give back as well. And I think in the property industry you'll find that people tend to want that everyone cheers one another on, don't they? So in most businesses people see each other as competition, whereas in property business, certainly how I see it, everyone's collaborating and cheering each other on, which I think is fantastic. Yeah,
because the fact is, like, the more we help each other, the more successful each people become. But I mean, there's people that are started off, so they're further behind the journey I am. But there's people I'm in a position to help them. But there's people that are further in the journey ahead of me, and I hope that they would be able to help me when I have problems. I have had total other problems. I've messaged you. I've spoke to Paul as well. I've messaged Paul a few times where I've had questions, and he's been quite helpful. Yeah. Alistair as well. A whole bunch of people. Courtney from the office, so the network, your power team that you build just by doing this, whether it's starting with the crash course, doing the DFE, even going to the academy, at some point going through the property journey, property investing, there's someone around that can help you.
There's always someone that knows the answer to the question.
So that you don't know.
Yeah. You just got to get yourself there.
And then you know the answer to someone else that doesn't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what advice would you give to someone that's watching this that really wants to kill it in property?
Step 1, crash course. Yeah. Step 2 is YouTube. It's definitely a good resource. Then get onto the DFE is definitely a must. Yeah. And then from there, find out what it is you want. Don't just go ahead and think, I want to try and get a property, but I've got no money. I'll get the property first, and I'll try and figure out where the money is. You could do that. If it works off, great, fantastic. But for me, my advice would be definitely to look at all the different paths into property investing and pick which one's best for you.
That's great.
And apply yourself to that. And do what? Perseverance.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, the first couple of weeks of me getting into property sourcing, the amount of hours I was spending, days I was spending doing this, trying to find my first deal or trying to find my first investor to sell to and start off building a website and all this stuff. You need perseverance and self-motivation. You've got those two things, that's 50% of the battle. That's great. Love it. Simon, thanks so much for coming on the show. Wish you all the best. And look forward to hopefully one day having you on the academy. I promise I will be on the academy. I promise I will be.
High five, man.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you very much. My name's Samuel Leeds. Thank you for watching Winners on a Wednesday. Every single week we interview our success students for your inspiration. You can watch more right here on the playlist. There's a whole playlist of them. But what you'll notice is every single winner on a Wednesday, it always starts with them coming to my 2-day crash course. So if you would like to be a winner on a Wednesday, literally come on my crash course, and who knows, in 3 months' time, you could be here in my offices on this show as a winner on a Wednesday. So get yourself booked on the crash course, watch more, have fun. I'll see you next week.